It is that time of the year again. A brand new flagship chipset and two hot new smartphones vying for your attention. On one side, we have the iQOO 13 and on the other, the Realme GT 7 Pro. If you want to experience the new Snapdragon 8 Elite chip, these two are your best bets. More importantly, both these phones are priced under 60,000 rupees. In fact, the iQOO can be purchased for as low as 52,000 with launch offers. So, should you buy one of these or maybe wait for something else? Let's find that out, but before that, please hit that subscribe button because comparisons like these take a lot of time and energy to make. Both the iQOO 13 and Realme GT 7 Pro have a nice glass sandwich design and an aluminium frame. However, I find the Realme GT 7 Pro to have a more premium feel. It feels weightier in hand and has a matte frame that resists fingerprints better than the glossy finish on the iQOO 13. The back of the iQOO 13 is undeniably cool with its matte ivory color and the subtle BMW M inspired stripes. You'd also notice this LED RGB ring around the camera island, which is fully customizable and adds some character to this phone. Although this LED ring surrounds a rather downgraded camera system, which we will talk about in a while. Anyway, I still prefer the Realme's brushed metal texture on this grey color. It just looks more upscale. Although the Realme's matte black does show fingerprints, its overall design edges out the iQOO for me. Both smartphones are also decently robust with an IP69 rating and credible glass protections for their displays. Both smartphones also feature quick ultrasonic fingerprint readers. I'm really glad that ultrasonic fingerprint readers are finally going mainstream 5 long years after their original debut in the Galaxy S10 series. Okay, since performance without breaking the bank is the main mantra of these two phones, let's have a look at their benchmark scores. The iQOO 13 takes the lead with higher scores in AnTuTu and Geekbench. However, it scored surprisingly low in the Wildlife Extreme Stress Test, which is likely due to an optimization issue. Although in practical terms, performance gains since the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 are kind of hard to notice. At this point, a new flagship chip is mostly about boasting your high score on AnTuTu because even a 2-year-old Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 can play demanding games with ease. And when it comes to all the AI features, they still rely heavily on the internet connection to work reliably. So I just wonder what all the powerful NPUs are doing here. Anyway, in everyday use, both phones perform superbly. They handle heavy games without breaking a sweat even during extended sessions. Both manage heat pretty well, although the iQOO 13 remains slightly cooler after a 30-minute BGMI session. Both models also offer frame rate interpolation. The Realme can boost frame rates up to 120 FPS, while the iQOO has a dedicated Q2 chip that enhances gaming to 144 FPS and optimizes power efficiency. But do note that only a very few games support frame rate interpolation as of now. Despite having the same chipset and 16 GB of RAM, the iQOO 13 feels faster and smoother thanks to better software optimization. Apps open swiftly on it and multitasking is seamless as well. Realme, on the other hand, has cleaner software with fewer pre-installed apps. It does not bombard you with spammy notifications like the iQOO does. Both phones include the glance lock screen, which feels out of place on premium devices. You can disable all of these things on both phones, but cleaning up the iQOO will definitely require more time. The iQOO 13 fights back with a longer software support cycle of 4+5 years compared to Realme's 3+4 years. As mentioned before, AI features are present on both phones as long as you are connected to the internet. Realme's AI suite is more organized and user-friendly. It offers more features, though it still does not match the comprehensiveness of Samsung's AI tools. After performance, now let's tackle the second most important question about these two smartphones. Are these camera systems any good? In my recent full review of the Realme GT 7 Pro, I found its cameras to be pretty good, but not quite flagship grade. So, given how good the iQOO 12's camera system was, can we just have the liberty of assuming that the iQOO 13's camera system is also really good? Sadly, no. The camera sensors have changed on the iQOO 13 and they are a bit of a downgrade, especially the telephoto lens, which now has an inferior sensor and no periscope zoom. But let's start with the main camera and see how these two phones compete. The main camera is pretty equally matched on both phones in terms of detail, but Realme can get a little inconsistent. For example, in this challenging shot, Realme struggled a bit with dynamic range, and in this second shot, it added a greenish tone to the ambience which was not there. Night mode definitely goes into iQOO's favor because of its better detail and focus, but its tendency to make the night sky blue can be annoying for some users. Both phones take detailed videos but suffer from EIS jitter. iQOO, however, performs much better in tricky scenarios. Telephoto cameras are where things get interesting, because the downgrade on the iQOO 13 versus the iQOO 12 is pretty hard to ignore. In fact, in portrait shots, it sometimes struggles to focus on the person, which is quite surprising for a Vivo phone. The iQOO 13 definitely processes light flares better than the GT7 Pro, but none of the phones were particularly consistent with skin tones. Also, since there is no periscope on the iQOO 13, its long-range zoom is limited to just 30x. Telephoto footage from both smartphones is not particularly stable, but it is detailed with good dynamic range. When it comes to ultra-wide, the iQOO has a clear advantage with its higher resolution camera. It takes better photos in the day as well as in low light. Plus, it can also shoot good videos at 4K 60fps, whereas the Realme is capped at 1080p 30fps. Coming to selfies, the Realme has a 16 megapixel front sensor while the iQOO has a 32 megapixel sensor. I am not particularly fond of any of these cameras because Realme oversharpens and brightens up every photo, whereas iQOO does not get the skin tones right. All things considered, the iQOO 13 has the better camera system out of these two phones. But that punch above the priced nature of the iQOO 12 is sadly gone. So, if a camera phone in this price range is what you want, try grabbing an iQOO 12 while you still can. Alright, time to move beyond cameras. Display is one criteria where these two smartphones are pretty different, to be honest. At a glance, both displays are high-end. Realme shines with peak brightness, while iQOO offers a higher refresh rate. However, the Realme GT7 Pro's display has peculiar color reproduction. It shows greenish blue tones across all profiles. iQOO's display, on the other hand, stays fairly neutral. Realme's cooler tones is not an issue in isolation, but its tendency to exaggerate blues becomes obvious when compared to the iQOO. Finally, there is battery life and charging. Charging is industry leading with both phones supporting 120 watts wired charging and coming with a bundle adapter. But wireless charging is sadly missing on both phones. Anyway, with or without wireless charging, battery life is pretty amazing on both these smartphones. Realme's 5800 mAh and iQOO's 6000 mAh cells will easily give you 9+ hours of screen time with mixed use. Even with an hour of gaming and about 3 to 4 hours of watching videos, the screen time hover around the 7-hour mark on both, which is pretty brilliant. Ultimately, if you are looking for a premium smartphone that plays high-end games with ease without any frame drops or overheating, then both of these are excellent choices. However, there's always just one winner, and in this case, it is the iQOO 13. It offers long software support and slightly better cameras than the Realme, but more importantly, it is cheaper by 5,000 rupees. Although, knowing Realme, do keep an eye on the GT7 Pro's price during the New Year sale season.